In this video, we're going to be talking about how to actually get all of these different pieces of software set up and working together in a good, clean way. And we're going to be using Windows for this tutorial. So if you are on Mac, please watch the Mac version of the video. This is for Windows users. And I'm on Windows 10 right now. That shouldn't really matter too much, but there might be a few little differences that you see. So I'm going to start by heading over to atom.io and downloading Atom. And Atom is our text and code editor, and we're going to be using it to actually create our projects. Then I'm going to go to git-scm.com, which Git is the version control software they're going to be using, and we're going to download that. And then lastly, we're going to head over to github.com and create an account. Whenever you create an account, there's a section that asks you for what type of plan you would like to have, and you can just say free plan. I'm going to go ahead and sign in on github.com just to start. Okay, so go ahead and find your Atom setup and your Git setup that you downloaded, and let's install Git first. So I'm going to double click Git. The default settings are fine. All of these default settings are totally fine. So now that Git is installed, we can just click Finish, and let's install Atom. Atom automatically opens whenever it's done installing, and I'm just going to click Yes, that's fine, and minimize Atom for now. We're going to go and click Start and type in CMD, which is the command prompt. And the command prompt is kind of a scary looking thing, but it's actually quite simple. And we need to use the command prompt to configure Git. Git isn't really a program that installs the same way as most programs. It actually runs in the background, so we just have to set up some things in this command prompt to get it to work. So very simply, click Start, type in CMD, and run the command prompt. I'm going to type in git space config space hyphen global space user.name and then space, and then you can type in your username in quotes. So I'll type in and hit return. And then we're going to type in the same thing again, git config hyphen global, and here's where it changes. We're going to type in user.email and type in your email address. And it should be the same email address that you're using on GitHub. I'll hit return, and that's all we need to do to configure Git. So we can go ahead and close our command prompt, and we never have to touch Git again. Let's open up Atom, and we're going to see this welcome page on Atom. We have an untitled document open. We can just close that. There's a telemetry consent. You can say if you want to help or not help. I'll just say yes, that's fine. And then we have this welcome page, and I'll go ahead and turn that off and close it. Doesn't really matter, it's your preference. So in this welcome guide, one of the first things we'll see is install a package. Packages are really how Atom works. Atom is kind of a collection of packages that interact with each other, and we can always extend Atom by adding more packages to it. Packages are created by other users and developers and really add a lot of functionality to Atom. So let's go ahead and click install a package. If you don't see this, by the way, you can go File, Settings, and then Install over here on the left-hand side. So we're going to install 3 packages. We're going to type in Atom HTML preview. Click Install. Color Picker. And lastly, Atom Beautify. Okay, great. So those are going to install. We can go ahead and close out of this settings window while those are installing. And while that's going, we're going to go back to GitHub. So I'm going to open up my browser, go back to GitHub and sign in. Make sure you're signed in. And you're going to see this Learn GitHub without any code. I'm going to click Start a Project. Whenever we click this, it's going to tell us to create a new repository. A repository is basically a project. It's what holds all your files for a project, including the revision history. So at any time with a repository, we can step back in time. So it's like it's constantly saving new versions of our project, and this is really valuable, especially whenever it comes to programming or coding, because you're always going to make mistakes and you're going to want to go back to an earlier version or add new versions and so on and so forth. So we're going to go ahead and create a repository name. So this is our project name. So I'll call this my first project in Atom. We give it a description, public, and then there's this initialize. I'll go ahead and check that. What this basically means is it's going to initialize with a little README file, which is a file where you can put some information for visitors to view whenever they look at your project. I'll click Create Repository. And we have our first project. So here's my username, my first project in Atom. We have all this information. So here's our README file, and there's some other things in here that we'll go over a little bit more later. But really the important thing here is we're going to click this clone or download button. And before I click that, I'm just going to explain. We have this README file, and here's the preview for our README. Our README just has one line of text that says my first project in Atom, which is the name of our project, and nothing else. What we're going to do is we're going to edit this project in Atom and send our changes to GitHub, and it will update in GitHub, meaning anyone can view it, including your instructor or other users. So I'm going to go ahead and click clone or download. This is how we get our project into Atom. So every time we make a new project, we're going to click this. We just need to copy this address, so I can either click in here and Control-C, or I can click this little copy to clipboard button. Let's go back to Atom. And to open this project in Atom, we're going to use what's called a command. And Atom does commands by opening up this little command prompt, which is Control-Shift-P. So Control-Shift-P as in print opens up this little command prompt. And I can type in GitHub clone. And GitHub clone is right here. Here's the keyboard shortcut. But GitHub clone, we'll click that. And it's asking me clone from. This is the URL, so we just paste that in there. So this is the same one that we had on here. And then we can tell it what directory. So right now it's going to go into my GitHub directory. I can change this to like desktop. And here's the name of my folder. That's fine. And I'll click clone. It's going to clone it, meaning it's downloading it and copying it. And on the left-hand side, we can now see this is called the tree view. Let's go ahead and double-click that README file. Now I have my README file open, and I can edit it. So I can add a new line, and maybe I'll say, here's a change. Notice it gives this little green line right here. That means that we've made a change that we have not sent to GitHub. I'm going to save this file. So I can go File, Save, or I can just do Control-S on my keyboard. And whenever we save a file that's been changed, notice over here in the tree view, it changes to being kind of this orangish tan color. That's saying, hey, this has been changed, but hasn't been sent to GitHub yet. So let's go ahead and send this change to GitHub. That's called committing. Committing is making a change to a GitHub project. So down here, we have this +1 file. We can either click that there, or we can go View Git tab. Now that this tab is open, I usually just leave this tab open all the time, but it tells us what the unstaged changes are. So that means what we haven't sent or staged or approved yet. So I can click this file and it'll actually show me, okay, you made some changes here. Here's the changes that you made. This is what changed. Great. We can click Stage All or just stage this file. Now that the change is staged, it's on the stage, it's ready to be sent off to GitHub. We need to commit it by giving it a little commit message. So we click down here and we give it a message that describes our changes. So we'll say, added some content to README file. And then we click commit. Now whenever we click commit, that's going to send it to this little interface down here, which is called our pull and push request. That means that we are requesting to push a change to GitHub. So this is how we push or send our changes to GitHub. So I'll go ahead and click commit. All right, down here we have that little 1. So that means one change being sent. So it says push. I'll go ahead and click push. And it's going to ask me for my GitHub credentials. It's asking me to log into GitHub. And it's asking for them again. It asks them kind of twice, but that's okay. And we can see it's working, and it's sent because it doesn't say the 1 anymore. And notice our README file is now back to normal. Let's go back to our browser. So here's our project. Let's refresh this page. And look at that, our README file, which is what we're viewing right here. Here's a change. We have this 2 commits right here. Whenever we click that, it's going to show us the different commits that we made. So here's our initial commit. This is basically making the project. And here we added some content to the README file. Let's go back to our project. So that's basically the full process, start to finish. We create projects on GitHub, we clone or download them to Atom, modify them in Atom, and then push them or commit them back up to GitHub. Let's do that process just one more time, start to finish, so that it's clear. I'm going to go back to my username, repositories. I can make a new repository. So it's like a new project. I'm going to call it our second project. It all needs to be one word, by the way. You can't do spaces. And I'll say initialize with a README. Then remember we clone it. So I'm going to clone that. Go back to Atom. Control-Shift-P to open up our command. And we'll type in GitHub clone. Paste, choose a directory for it, so let's do desktop, or you can do, documents or something. And now we have that project here. Good to go.